wanted to talk about, when does the United States finally get respect in the sport of soccer? When does that finally become something that we can look at and be like, you know what, the world looks at the US and respects exactly what it is that we're doing in this game? And I think the only way that we do that, to be completely honest with you, Ryan, is we have to compete for a World Cup. And here's why. Because we don't get to face some of the superpowers in the world on a regular basis. It's not a part of something that we don't get to see them all the time. We don't get to see them every year. We obviously talk about CONCACAF, the organization that the U.S. belongs in, and it is perfectly crafted and created, and even more so now with the automatic bids, for United States success. The Gold Cup, any other cup within CONCACAF, any other competition within that realm, we should dominate. There should be no question in my mind or anybody else's mind, and that's not arrogance. That's just the truth. I mean, outside of Mexico and obviously Panama, who's been our Achilles heel, I don't really know any other countries in CONCACAF, with the exception of on-again, off-again Canada, who's really going to give the United States any sort of issues. So what does that leave us with? Well, that leaves us with the big European countries. That leaves us with England, in Spain, in France, and these other sides that, frankly, we're only going to see maybe a couple of times every 4 years. And those couple of times, or at least one of those times, is probably going to be in the World Cup. And so because of this, we're not going to be able to get through to them with the players that we're sending over there. Because if we're going to make a comparison to another sport, the sport that I immediately think of is the National Basketball Association, right? You had this influx of players coming over, one player by one player, little bit by little bit, starting to break into the league, starting to make an impact. But it really wasn't something that we as the United States, as a country, really respected. Like, our best is still better than anybody else's best, comfortably, easily. And you could say that in the sport of soccer. So when we talk about 25 players in top flight leagues, that doesn't really matter all that much to change the reputation or the conversation around American players. Where the respect for what the international community could do in the sport of basketball came was when they started beating the U.S. in world championships, or they started beating the U.S. in the Olympics. And the teams that they were able to put together were better than our I would say our best, but even in that situation, sometimes we weren't sending our best. But this year, when I watched, or not this year, but the last Summer Olympics a couple of years ago, we put together the best collection of players that we had here in the U.S. to go to Paris and play. Now, part of that is because it was Paris, but the other part of it was because we understood that the world is caught up. France is caught up. Serbia has caught up. These other countries have caught up. And if we don't put our best foot forward, we're going to get embarrassed on the biggest stage. We don't strike that fear into the hearts of any of the soccer powerhouses in the world. I don't think we strike that fear into England or France or Germany. I don't think any of them are really game planning or thinking about the United States in the way of we have to worry about those guys. Yeah, individually speaking, we are advancing and we're producing and we're sending younger players over there. I just saw a stat on Noah Kai Banks and how great he's been in his introduction to the European ranks. We're doing it on the individual scale. In the U17, we're running everybody off the field. But until we can threaten these guys, and by these guys, you know exactly the countries I'm referring to, until we can actually threaten them at the highest level, and that means like World Cup, or any other competition where we face them head-to-head, where their best is against our best and it's a knockout game, that is the only moment where you can force them to respect you. That's where they have to respect you. But all the individual accomplishments at this point, well, they're just going to pass it off as, oh, okay, well, we've been here. Welcome to the party, finally. Thanks for joining. Only took you 3 decades to finally build to a point to where you can consistently have players over here, and not even in necessarily the top leagues like the Premier League, but still top flight leagues. But anyways, I think getting close to a World Cup, beating a top end side, competing for a World Cup, just getting close has to be the one thing that has to happen, because individual accomplishments are just whatever, unless we actually threaten them on the world stage. I don't see how they could actually come to respect us.
There's two competitions where we'll earn respect. The World Cup and Copa America. Those are the only two where we will earn
Yeah.
respect from the world because we'd be playing up against the Argentinas, the Brazils, and as much as how good Europe is at soccer, South America is very good too. And I think
Yeah.
that kind
Yeah,
of
that's fair. We focus a lot on Europe, but South America, you're right. We can't forget them in all this.
yeah, and I'll just say that England hasn't beaten us, so there's no reason for them to they can't respect us because they can't beat us. So as much as we can say, "Oh, England, we don't strike the fear in them," well, when we look in the last two meetings in the World Cup, they haven't beaten us, and they didn't look that good in either one. So England can't really move that. But for soccer, it's simply these two instances. Can you win in
Mm.
Copa America and can you win in the World Cup? We've proven so far that we can. And if we do well in either one of those competitions, i.e., getting to a semifinal and actually competing in it, not getting to a semifinal and Messi just rips us a new one and we lose 4-0 to Argentina in the Copa America
Yeah.
semifinal.
Right.
That's another reason why Copa America doesn't want the United States or Mexico in it because they actually kind of make a little bit of noise in it and they don't actually do anything, but they're scared for a little bit.
Yeah.
And can we not get embarrassed in the round of 16 like we have against the Netherlands and then, to be honest, quite frankly, Belgium because we got embarrassed. If it wasn't for Tim Howard, we would have
Yeah.
lost that game probably 4 or 5-0. So can we compete in
Yep.
those situations? And we're seeing Poch actually set up and schedule games against the bigger sides, whether those sides, i.e., Germany, Belgium, and Portugal, want to bring their best players. That's up to them. But you're seeing Poch actually schedule that stuff. You're seeing U.S. Soccer actually schedule these types of games. And it's great because at some point
Yeah.
you eventually have to play in these big games against these big teams. And can we just compete against those two? And back to your basketball example, we brought the Redeem team, and they still struggled against the world. So
Yeah.
there's that. The U.S. teams, there's only one team where that just really dominated throughout the whole thing, and that was
Well,
the
it
Dream
started
Team.
with the Dream Team, but the rapidly caught up after that. So yeah, no, you're exactly right. And
And
the reason why we brought the Redeem Team is it's because the world caught up.
and for basketball, there's only one nation that's caught up to us, and that's France. Serbia will fall off once Jokic gets old, just like Spain fell off, just like Argentina fell off. There's only one nation that is caught up to us, and that's France. That's it.
Serbia was avoiding one 15-point run away from beating us in the
But I'm
Olympics,
saying
Ryan.
they have not caught up to us because there's one player. They have one player. When I start seeing 6 Jokic's, 7 Jokic type players, I'll say it. In the early 2010s,
But they were this close to beating us.
In the early
They were this
2010s,
close.
Spain was thought as this world power. Australia was thought as this world power.
Spain is still very good.
No, they're not. Spain is not good at basketball. Who's their best player from Spain? Juan Hernan Gomez, the guy from the Adam Sandler movie? No. Spain sucks. What happened to Argentina after Manu left? Nothing. What has Spain done after the Gasals left? Nothing. There's only one nation that's caught up to us, and it's France. Sure, well, Serbia played us tight for sure, and then guess what they did? They started barking and chirping, and guess what? They got their asses handed.
Oh,
to
they
them.
choked.
And the coaches and the
Yeah,
basketball
they
coach,
choked.
The basketball coach even said that soccer is still the main priority in that country, and he said in the documentary he's scared about what it looks like after Jokic, and they should because they don't have anybody. So once they start producing multiple Jokic's, then sure, I will respect Serbia in the game of basketball.
But the truth,
only
but
country I
we
respect is France in basketball.
you don't respect Serbia at all.
They produce one MVP. That's it.
The dude's the best player in the world, Ryan.
The whole
You have Vucevic, you have Bogdanovic. Serbia has a
Vucevic
rich
wasn't even in
culture
the
of
thing.
basketball there. Back when it was Bulgaria, they were winning gold medals.
But-
back when it was
but
the
they
Soviet
have
Union,
one
they were
player.
still winning gold medals.
They have a player.
No, but what I'm trying to tell you is that there's a rich history of basketball there. I understand it's probably not the priority. Maybe it's not the number one sport. That's fair, but they were this close to beating us in the Olympics. Like if they don't let up that just unbelievable run at the end, if KD
But
doesn't
did they
just
beat
go
us?
absolutely nuclear.
Did they
No,
beat
because
us?
we have Kevin Durant. That's the
they
point. I
beat
know,
us?
like we still have the best players in the world. But I'm not going to disrespect Serbia. I still think they've caught up, them and France. But
France is the only one because they're the ones that have proven that they can develop and produce talent at a high clip. Serbia doesn't. Outside of Jokic and Bogdanovic, can you name one other Serbian basketball player?
Vucevic.
Vucevic was not on it. Vucevic hurt last year because he didn't play?
I don't know. He's
Because he
Serbian.
didn't play in the Olympics. All right. So outside of those three, could you name another one?
Micic,
Who's
Charlotte
that?
Hornets guard. He's a guard for the Hornets.
Exactly. No one knows who he is, so he's a nobody in the NBA. The point is they can't produce talent at a high clip like U.S. and France can. France is the only nation that'll actually catch up to them. Once Jokic is done, Serbia is going to do exactly what Argentina and France and Spain did. But back to our point of soccer, we're getting totally off topic on this. To respect them, to get respect from everybody else because, yeah, we're proven on the individual standpoint, and we have a top 15 winger in the world. No, not top 15. I'd put him just outside top 10. Top 11, 10, 9, one of those three. Yeah, we can do it at a individual level, but can we do it as a team? We've proven we can hang with people. We've proven that before. We've proven we can hang with the Englands, the Germanys, the Portugals. We've done it. We've hung with them. Mm-hmm. Can we actually beat them in the biggest stage? And there's only two competitions where this can work. Copa America, and I'm not talking about beating Ecuador like we have. I'm not talking about beating Colombia. You have to beat the big boys, i.e., Argentina, Brazil. You beat one of them. I mean, heck, we've even beat Spain before in the Confederations Cup when they were like prime Spain. So we've done it. We've beaten teams. But we have to. Heck, Costa Rica even made a quarterfinal in the World Cup. We have to do it consistently. We have to do it almost all the time. And we actually have to schedule these teams in our international friendlies a lot more often. And maybe we can somehow create the U.S. would be the team to create a competition with 4 other nations across the world and 3 European sides to play in a competition because we're the United States. We would do that and actually compete against them. But every international friendly, you've got to schedule some of the best in the world. And I get it. You have to play in CONCACAF. Like, we're almost like Gonzaga in a way, but not as good. But it's like you have to play CONCACAF teams because you have to. Like, they're in your region. You eventually have to qualify for stuff. But once we get to Copa America, once we get to the World Cup, you got to make some noise in it. You've got to compete. You can't get blown out 4-0 like you did in 2016. You can't do that to Argentina. You can't. You got to win stuff. You got to and we're doing it on an individual level at the club level because, like, we have the best player in Serie A. Pulisic is the best player in Serie A. I know people don't like that. And we have one of the best defenders in the Bundesliga. I wouldn't say Chris Richards is one of the best defenders in the Prem, but, you know, he's a serviceable center back, I would say. Wes McKennie, best player on Juventus. So, for sure, we're doing it at individual level, but can we combine it all together?
Yeah. And can we threaten them at the highest level? I mean, that's where it really all begins in my mind. And can you have a moment that is special? You know, not just good enough, not just, hey, we got here, we're satisfied, like we hit our ceiling, we made it to the knockout stages. Like, can you have a special run? And it might only take one to, like, actually convince people, like, oh, okay, this machine that we're creating is working.
Not one. You gotta do it multiple times because Costa Rica.
You don't think a special run in the World Cup would help at least bolster it in the right direction? I'm not just saying it's one and done. You don't have any success beyond that point. I'm just saying that's where it starts. Right? This is where it begins.
With one, and you get some eyebrows raised for sure. But you need to do it time and time again.
Oh,
Costa Rica has gotten to a quarterfinals in modern day soccer, and look at them. They fall. We're talking about a generation, and after that generation of core players falls off, that's exactly what Costa Rica has happened. They had their core group of players, and after 2014 and in 2018, now no one ever talks about it.
You can't compare the depth of these countries to what we have in the United States. I mean, it's not – I don't even think it's comparable, but I don't know. The basketball example, I mean, we get smacked around at the World Cup, but, you know, we bring the best of the best to the Olympics, and – we squeak by, we win gold, but, you know, I'm just saying, I don't know. The depth in a lot of these places, you're right. It's not the same, but they're dealing with the same issue that we deal with in the soccer conversation. That, again, it's just not the most relevant sport in their country. And so you're just not pulling nearly as many numbers.
And for
soccer,
Canada,
it's hockey.
I think to get the ultimate respect from the rest of the world is we're starting to see it shift a little bit, but you have to have players continue to compete at the highest level the highest club level, like we're seeing with the Pulisic and McKennie, Chris Richards, Tyler Adams, all those guys. That's the start. But I think you have to have 3 World Cups where you're making a quarterfinal plus. And I ultimately think it's that. And in a Copa America, you got to get to a final. And look, they're behind the 8 ball as it was anyway after everything that has happened in our world's history, and soccer just was not the focal point. But you've got to compete. And in those games, you can't lose 4-0. You can't lose 3-0. You can't lose like that. You can't get dominated. But if you compete, get to a couple quarterfinals, get to a final in the Copa America, then we'll have that conversation of do they finally get that respect.
Yeah, I think once the conversation shifts from we just hope and pray and fingers crossed that we're going to do something good to we expect something of this national team,